So, guys, today I'll be changing this to this as a DIY doll bag. So it's actually pretty easy. I did use some sewing in here. So if you don't have a sewing machine, hopefully you have some needle and thread that you can use. Sorry, I'm rolling up my sleeves. But if you don't, well, maybe this isn't the DIY for you. But it's a DIY doll satchel, and here, let me pause it and I'll show you what it looks like on the doll. So, this is what it looks like on the doll. And I think the straps, I'm actually really proud of these straps. But, if you want to learn how to make this, keep watching. Like, I don't think you would even realize that this came from a floss thing. Also, you can take this sticker off first before you start if you want to, but I don't really care. You can just glue over it with some fabric, which is what we're going to do even if you do take it off, so it's like pointless. So, trying to decide which fabrics I want to use, because I kind of want to do the same fabrics and I kind of want to do some different fabrics, so I think I'm going to pick those out and then we can start the DIY. So guys, is that even in focus? That's not in focus. So the two fabrics I chose are these blue jeans and there's some old blue jeans that don't fit me anymore, so it's not like see, they started to rip right there. So it's not like I'm cutting up some pants that I'm gonna use. So I really like to recycle my old clothing. If it's not good enough to like give away to Goodwill or anything, then lots of times I'll use it as fabric. So here's this exercising kind of material shirt, and I'm going to do this and this together. So you guys can choose whatever fabrics you want, obviously, but these are what I'm going with versus what I originally did. Alright, so this is going to be like the pocket, and here, where's the purse? So the blue jean is going to be going like where all the black is, and then the gray is going to be going here and here and right there. So you can measure exactly how much you need. Yeah, these pants really would not work anyway. So. It's pretty good jean material though. Are these skinny jeans? You can measure out exactly how much you need. I'm just going to estimate because I really don't care. Plus, it's just a little floss bottle, so. Now I know this is way more than you need, but you could either cut a tiny piece of fabric for every little side, or you could just like cut a giant piece and kind of like wrap it around. It's hard to explain what I'm thinking, but I figured I could do that because I did it on the last one. Or I did something like that on the last one because I cut it a little too big. So, let me just finish like cutting this up. And if you have shreddable fabric, like this one was like this fabric like shreds really easy, so you can see that there's like some glue on the edges of it. It's because it shreds really easily, and that's not good. So if it shreds really easily, you can just like stick some hot glue on it. This doesn't seem to be really like shredding, so that's good, and I'm pretty sure this fabric doesn't, so we're not really gonna have that problem this time. You might, depending on the fabric you choose. Guys, I just want to show you my setup here. I usually sit here, but my cat decided to invade my spot, so it's gonna be a little complicated today. So guys, you're gonna have to like cut a little bit right here so that this thing can still latch, because if you don't, then your thing will just not close all the way. So make sure to cut away like right there so that you can still latch it. and not to glue over this little bit right there, or else your satchel won't close, or bag, depending on what you want to call it. When you're working with smaller projects, sometimes it's best to use tiny pairs of scissors. So I have these like tiny ones that I'm probably going to use for most of it. Alright, time to hot glue it right here, and once I hot glue, I'll show you the end result, mostly because if I make this video too long, then the camera. So here's how it's glued on right now, and don't worry, we'll be like folding it over. There is still too much fabric to this though. So it's gonna look, soon it's gonna look more like that, but it's hot glued on now. Okay, so I'm gonna hot glue the sides and this side and the bottom, and then I'll come back. So guys, I'm trying to make sure that's on camera. It is. So I got all of this done now, and now we got to make the pocket and cut out fabric to put on here. It opens and closes. I think this looks better than the other one. And I put a little hot glue here because it was shredding just a little bit. So I figured I should put some hot glue right there at the seams. And so yeah, now I'm going to cut out a piece for this part, and it's a little complicated, I'll be honest. Like, it was a little hard to do yesterday, but so guys, this is what I have so far. And after this, I'm going to make a little pocket. I think I'm going to sew up the edges of it too, like I did with the last one, just in case the fabric decides to shred, because lots of fabric does that. So, I think I need the camera on to show you what I'm going to do. So, but this is what it looks like so far. Oh my gosh, my cat's spreading farther out instead of moving. That can also keep your scraps from your fabric sometimes, because sometimes they can actually come in handy. Like one time I made a doll pillow, and instead of stuffing it with stuffing, because I was all out of that stuff, I put some fabric scraps in there, and it works perfectly. So we're gonna make a tiny little pocket. So my wrist just like popped or something. So I know it looks I don't even know if you can see that, but I know it looks a little big considering it could fit this, but since we're gonna fold over the edges and sew it, hold on, hard to show on camera. Since we're gonna fold over the edges and sew it, it's gonna become smaller. And so yeah. So next step is I'm going to sew up all of these edges, and then I'll come back to you because I can't really do that on camera. You'd just be looking at a giant sewing machine while a person's trying to sew with a cat sitting by her. So this is what it should look like, and I only use red thread because that's the thread that I have on my machine right now. And it actually, of the thread that we have, this thread just works the best, so that's why I'm using red thread. Doesn't look half bad though. Well, I mean, if you don't like it, don't use red thread. But either way, this is what it looks like right now, and it's gonna get smaller, I swear. So we're gonna like start folding it all, and if it's too big, then I'll just, I don't know, make another one. I have plenty of fabric. So we are done with the little sewing, and so now I'm going to hot glue this on. It is a little rough around the edges, but I mean, what isn't? So hot glue these 3 sides, and then do not hot glue that unless you're just putting it on for decor, and you know, but I would suggest not to. Well, it's not centered, but I mean, it's there, so good enough. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to make the straps for it, which we will not be using any hot glue, unless you want to. there's one step where you could use hot glue if you really wanted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one side of the strap one color and the other side of the strap the other color, like I did with this one. And so what I did was I grabbed my doll, and after I cut out a long piece of fabric, I checked to see where, it really depends, like you could have it hanging here, you could have it hanging here. I mean, if you don't really want it that low, you could also have it hanging there. That'd be a little weird though. So I took my doll and I measured it after I cut out a strap for it. So I know it looks a little long, or at least it might look a little long, and a little wide, but